Hey everyone, welcome back for part 2 of our discussion on the sort of magical classical guitar technique called tremolo. To really benefit from today's episode, I'd strongly suggest that you spend a good deal of time working on the exercises I taught you in part 1. So watch that if you haven't already. And for the rest of you, here is Tremolo part 2. Today, I'd like to help you bring your tremolo to the next level. To do that, I'm going to show you 2 more exercises that's going to work out any remaining kinks in your tremolo technique, and then we'll finish the episode by talking about how to add musicality to your tremolo. Very often I'll hear guitarists who've certainly put in their fair share of hours working on tremolo. However, when they try to play fast, they end up producing a sort of lopsided sound. That has an almost galloping effect rather than what we want, which is a sort of ethereal evenness. It's almost as if there's an instrument in the other room sustaining. That's the goal. So to fix this unevenness, we can practice swinging the rhythm back and forth. So for example, we can start by going P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, P, A, M, I. So it's long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. We can also practice short, long, short, long, short, long, like this. Etc. This exercise is great for exposing the micro imperfections that can occur between our rapid finger movements. Most guitarists have had the experience that once they get good at tremolo on the first string, they're required to play it on the second string, and that can be difficult. To get good at this, let's learn about the concepts of flexion and extension. So flexion is this motion here, just the fingers closing toward the palm. And in fact, we can remember what Fernando Sor says about plucking. Plucking is simply closing the hand, one finger at a time. So that means that we go from our point of rest, which is this natural curled shape of the finger, and we close the hand one finger at a time. And after that finger plucks, it can then just let go, and it naturally springs back to its point of rest, which is kind of cool actually. You can hold your finger down to its palm, let go, and it springs back to where it was. So every pluck starts by touching the string, plucking, letting the finger release so it springs back to its point of rest, hovering over the string, ready to pluck again. Now the common mistake with tremolo is people accidentally do this. This is called extension, and we don't want to extend the fingers past their point of rest. We want to let the fingers flex towards the palm, release, return to their point of rest, but some guitarists accidentally extend the finger past the string, thereby hitting the first string. Makes for a messy tremolo. To practice playing on the inside strings, let's just do P, A, M, I on every single string, like this. All the way down. Back up. Now the rest of this video is going to be about musicality, which involves some serious multitasking. So if you're struggling at all with the technical portion of tremolo, don't be afraid to spend a few weeks, maybe practicing 10 minutes a day with these exercises, and come back. This video will be here when you're ready. Most tremolo pieces are in 2 parts. There's an accompaniment and a melody. The melody is usually the singable part, and the accompaniment just provides harmonic support. In Recuerdos, for example, the melody is the upper part, the tremolo-y bit, and then the thumb provides the accompaniment by arpeggiating chords. And just like as if we were in an orchestra when there are several different musicians, we have to control the balance between the different parts. And since we have two different voices here, this is no different. So we as guitarists have to be able to control the volume disparity between those two parts. And the way you can do that is by controlling the height of the wrist. If we bring the wrist higher, it's going to bring the bass line, the accompaniment, out. If we bring it lower, it'll make it softer and the melody will appear to be louder. So here we have the accompaniment starting with the low wrist. And now I'm going to raise the wrist height. It got louder, right? It's more resonant too. And if I bring the wrist back down, it got quieter. I'm not changing the force of the thumb, I'm just changing the height of the wrist. And the reason this works is because as I raise my wrist higher, I'm putting more arm weight into the string, which makes the note sound louder and more resonant. So now when I'm playing the piece, if I want to bring out the melody, I can lower the wrist, which turns the volume down there, and that'll make the melody appear as louder. If I just take the first chord, this is the first chord of the major section, I can gradually lower the wrist. And now you hear the melody as being much louder. Raise the wrist. Now, although in most music the melody is louder than the accompaniment, when something interesting happens in the accompaniment, you can bring out that sound, like at the end of Recuerdos. You get this interesting little bass line. Which is nice and melodic. And at the same moment, the melody is just droning on a C sharp. So that's a good moment to bring out the accompaniment by raising the wrist height. So here's that whole phrase. It starts with the melody louder. And then. Dynamics are an essential part of any musical performance, and it's no different with tremolo. So to learn how to crescendo and decrescendo while performing tremolo, let's just take the opening chord of Recuerdos, and we're going to start very, very soft, almost inaudible, and gradually is the key word, we're going to swell to our loudest volume, and when we think we've found it, we're going to come back to being almost inaudible. Again, gradual is the key word. Around there is the peak, so I'll head backward. Less. Until I fade away to nothing. So find moments in the piece to amplify the intensity of the moment with a crescendo. And likewise, find moments where the sound is coming to a rest and let that really settle in with a nice decrescendo. This is the final and perhaps the most delicate part of any really good tremolo. Rubato is when we stretch time. We can speed up or slow down to highlight the beauty of a moment and create some ebb and flow in the rhythm. Let me show you how this works. Here's a phrase with no rubato. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. Very clean. Sounds beautiful because the music is beautiful. I even did a little bit of a crescendo there, so I had some dynamics. But if I was to stretch the time at the most intense moment, the peak of the phrase, then we can create something a little bit more interesting. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1. So I stretched the time to make that beautiful moment, the highest note, even more beautiful by just allowing it a little bit more time. Now, this is a highly subjective part of musical interpretation. Some might think I'm using way too much rubato, and some might think I'm using too little. But that's okay, because this is sort of the chocolate and vanilla stage of music making. You get to decide how much spice you want in your food and how much rubato you like in your music. So I'd encourage you to find moments in the piece which, by stretching the time a little bit, can intensify the beauty of the moment. Okay, so there we have it. We learned how to train our fingers using specific exercises from part 1 and a little bit from today as well. If you practice these regularly, you will give yourself the technical foundation for a beautiful, elegant, and even tremolo. Now, once you've achieved that technical stability, you need to then actually transcend those technical aspects of playing and enter the wonderful realm of musicality. And that means using expressive tools like voice balancing, dynamics, and rubato. How you mix those musical ingredients together is up to you and your own aesthetic preferences. And in fact, one of the reasons we love to listen to dozens of different guitarists play the same piece is because each of us are capable of creating our own new, lovable interpretation of a piece. So it's time for you to start making your own. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you found this to be useful. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, and if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can check out my Patreon. Lastly, at the time of this video, we are all under quarantine and are being asked in certain places to mandatorily wear masks. So if you would like a music-themed mask, my lovely wife, who goes by the artistic name of WEREM, is a wonderful designer and illustrator and has come up with some great music-themed masks that you can check out in the description below. See you next time.